Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one-season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
My name is Emily.
And we are 16/21 of the way through 1990's Dracula the series with My Fair Vampire this episode. And there's going to be a lot to talk about. It's another very busy episode.
Very busy. I liked it better than the previous one. Still not good.
Still not. Jordy is nearly to the point that I would have auditioned him for this show, which he never has been before. But if somebody put me in charge of casting this, Jordy could come in with his reel of this show from the future, and I'd be like, okay, man, if you can bring this energy from episode 16 to episode 1, maybe
I've got some comments on Jordy's performance, maybe the writing for him, maybe it's an actor's choice. I don't know, but I've got some notes on that.
Okay. Do you have your 3 things?
3 things. I would like to talk about the young ingenue, Miss Amber Santana, the guest star. I want to talk about appropriate attire for a midway, and touchdown is my 3rd thing. You're going to love that. It has nothing to do with the show, so you're going to love it.
Okay, so my 3 things. People do die in retirement homes.
Mm-hmm.
Does everyone have a key to this castle? Oh, and I'm just gonna do it, even though I don't have it marked. Dracula. Okay. So, this episode starts in those ruins that we filmed at a few times, but we have a woman singing, an opera singer in the ruins, who is then interrupted by a old man who she thinks is stalking her because he followed her to where she sings in the ruins. And he says, no, I've been following your career for 60 years. And she says, but I'm not a day over 25. And he's like, maybe you shouldn't lie about your age by 200 years. And then she fangs out. And because he's not an inept vampire killer like Uncle Gustav, he stakes her and she dies.
Yeah.
And there you go.
That's
how you kill a vampire.
Now, the guy wasn't the old guy that we're going to meet later, right? His friend in the nursing home?
It is.
It is? Okay.
It's unclear to me how much time has passed between the first scene and the next scene.
Yeah, because she's wearing old-timey dress, but she's an opera singer, so she could just be in costume for some opera for some reason, wandering around a ruined castle. It was very weird. But yes, you're right. Okay.
It's the only place they can get the filming permits. You notice they're not back at the what was it, the chateau?
The chateau, yeah.
Yeah, they're not back there this episode. So then I think we have credits, but then we've got okay, this is just a weird scene. My note is sad ass old folks home. But it's not just an old folks home. It's like an assisted living hospital, but it's made by the Dracula the series people. So they just put like what they consider to be sad cases in the backgrounds. And It is weird. It's uncomfortable.
So it's also very funny because I don't know if it's this scene or Gustav goes back later, but I'm dropping a picture in the chat. The extras are clearly just old people that they picked off the street. I haven't opened the chat yet.
Okay.
But they are all staring directly at either the camera or the action. It is so freaking funny. And I enjoyed it so much. That was like my favorite part. There's the picture that I'm sending you. It's, if I can send it, is Gustav talking to his friend. I can't send it.
Okay.
I'll send it on Facebook later. It's Gustav talking to his friend, and the camera's following these two talking, and there's old people way in the back, and the camera kind of gets off of the old people that are sitting on this bench, and this lady straight up leans forward and looks directly at the camera. It is the funniest thing. Her head just pops out of nowhere. It is so freaking funny. Best part, unintentionally, the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Now, while Gustav and his friend are catching up, Max is over with this magician.
Yes.
Now, we have talked before about how this show has lost its creepy old men after the 10-year-old boy thing. It kind of comes back here. There is a serious vibe where I'm like, is this episode about that magician fucking kidnapping Max? Because that's what this seems like.
So it's really weird too, because that guy is a young actor in old person makeup, apparently, if IMDb is to be trusted.
What it seemed very much like he was supposed to come back. Like we get a lingering shot where he reveals a tear on his face. Maybe
Yes.
it's going to be in a future episode because we haven't mentioned that. This episode has nothing to do with the 3-parter we just finished.
No.
Which was a 2-parter that had nothing to do with the, or wait, 2-part. Yeah, it's unclear. They don't really do, they're not doing their continuity well at all. So I just got the picture.
Yeah. It's so funny. She's just straight looking at the camera.
She's like, why are they speaking English? What country do they think this is?
No, but this episode has nothing to do with, even though there was a cliffhanger of sorts where the girlfriend's dad gets turned into a vampire, presumably, and starts working for the card. No mention of him.
Nope.
No mention of the daughter or where she's gone. And in fact, one of the things I have written down here is the episode is really light on the kids. The kids don't really have much to do with anything. So we had been talking about how Gustav often finds himself busy doing other things or incapacitated and unable to participate in the action. This one is the kids. The kids are just not there.
No Chris and Sophie scenes together.
No Chris and Sophie scenes together, except for when they're at
the carnival.
It's the 3 of them. So
yeah, very weird. But we establish that Gustav's friend Frederick is he tells Gustav about how he staked that opera singer, and we get the feeling that he's got memory issues, which put a pin in that because it's going to raise some issues later.
Mm-hmm.
And then he talks about how there's a vampire, and Gustav won't take him seriously. There have been 3 residents already this week who have died, to which Gustav just goes, well, people die in retirement homes all the time. And
seems like more than a retirement home. These aren't just like 65-year-old people. These are like 80-year-old people. These are, but I don't know. It's Europe. Maybe it's their word for it. The Luxembourgish word for it.
By way of Toronto, yes.
You know that Luxembourgish is the closest language to English. JK.
They've never established there in Luxembourg.
Oh.
They've never been specific in it.
Yeah,
we're in Lucardville.
Yeah.
So Gustav basically, ignores his friend and goes to get Max from the magician, does not take flowers from the magician, which leads to the magician revealing a tear on his face.
Which was weird.
Weird. And it's
really
like he's coming. It's like, okay, is he the vampire? Or is he just going to kill Max?
Is he just a creep? Yeah. Is this John Wayne Gacy?
Why is there a magician at the old folks' home anyway?
Because they like old-timey entertainment. Old people.
But then as they leave, Gustav says, you were right, Max. This place does give one the creeps. And I'm like, when did Max say that? Did I miss something already?
Yeah. Yeah, you missed something.
Okay.
They missed something. How about that?
Here we go. It is time to introduce Miss Amber Santana.
So I don't know where she came from. The IMDb synopsis says that she works for Lucard, but in this, he doesn't know who she is. And she seems to think he's somehow tied to the entertainment business and that he can break her in, which put a pin in that because the reveal on this is very weird in light of that. So she is in his office and she's kind of trying to seduce him, maybe, but also seems repulsed by the idea of him taking advantage of her. She sits on his desk kind of provocatively, breaks a few things in the office, and sings very badly. And then insists that he tell her she's a good singer and get her plugged into the entertainment industry, right? She is very, very 90s. And in this first scene, I did not see that ingenue quality that apparently Lucard saw. Like, it's
Yes.
clear that she's a bad singer. This isn't like a matter of taste. This is,
Nope.
she's not a good singer.
She is
But
not a good singer.
more than that, she's in this scene does not seem particularly attractive. Later, I think she is, but and I hate to judge somebody by the way they look, but like I'm not getting this like what he sees in her exactly. A blank slate, maybe? Like
Yeah, she seems very much
like Mira Sorvino and Mighty Aphrodite.
yeah, she seems like a Jersey girl type bit, and it's very strange. And then it seemed, yeah, so she wants to sing, and Lucard's like, I don't do anything with singers. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? And she's like, well, I hear you like, he's like, I like good stuff. And she's like, oh. And then he's like, if you come over to my house, to my castle, maybe, I'll hook you up with some blank. Now, she might think it starts with the letter D, but he's actually talking about the letter F as in fangs, but also no, cousins. We'll get to it. But yeah, so it's just a weird,
It's weird.
not funny scene.
Yeah.
She keeps breaking priceless things and he doesn't care and stuff like that.
He does kind of care, but at the same time, she does like 3 times. And again, I'm just like, I'm wondering, like, this is not, and he keeps dropping references to My Fair Lady and Pygmalion. By dropping references, I mean mentioning it, which is.
That's the next scene.
Is it the next scene?
You've jumped ahead.
Oh, sorry. But continue.
Well, no, because it's Dracula the series. They're going to make their dinner date. Then we're going to cut to having Gustav having nightmares of Dracula.
Right.
Which my note was, yes, this show gives Gustav nightmares too.
That's right. Because all it is him fanging out.
Yeah.
And then one attempt of Gustav's to try to stake him and fail.
And it's basically Gustav's feeling old. But then we cut to the dinner where my first note is gross. Okay.
Oh yeah.
But yes, so he's like, have you ever seen, or are you familiar with Pygmalion? And she like mispronounces it when she repeats it to him. And then he goes into explaining that it is about.
This is my least favorite type of reference drop. When you drop a reference and then have to explain the reference to somebody. Well,
yeah.
Like, it's not even dropping a reference, mentioning it, I guess. But it's my least favorite thing. It's so we get to realize that she is so unsophisticated that she doesn't recognize Pygmalion. And he doesn't recognize that My Fair Lady is probably more in this woman's radar.
Or this came out in February of 1991. Pretty Woman came out in March of 1990. So this is Pretty Woman. And it's just like, why wouldn't you
use a more modern reference?
Pretty Woman reference or something. Like, what is this for? Like, this show is written for people Gustav's age.
Yeah.
To watch it. And you're like, what? Nobody in their mid 60s, late 60s is watching your fucking Dracula show. This is a silly target audience.
I didn't even think about the similarities. Obviously, Pretty Woman is just a modernized version of Pygmalion. I didn't even realize that until you said it, but it would make more sense because with her big curly hair, she looks like Julia Roberts. Jesus Christ, I didn't even put that together. Thank you.
So first they bring out some food for her and he's not eating. So at this point, it's still really unclear what the hell this episode's going to be.
Yeah.
But, that he's not eating. He tries to get her to eat some
Seafood.
kind of
A
seafood.
seafood platter.
She doesn't want to eat it. So instead, she's eating the fruit off the display on the table, which would only be funny if it were wax fruit,
Yeah.
but it's not. Instead, she's just being uncultured. There's this recurring thing about how he's trying to teach her Latin, and
And
she's like,
her, the first thing he teaches her is Vini Vidi Vici. That seems really stupid. Like,
well, he's like really bad. Well, okay, so does he establish yet that he's not going to turn her into a vampire and he's going to try? I don't think he does.
I don't think he does yet, but it's at the end of this scene, I think.
He gives her some
Chocolates.
that have a necklace in it, which leads to him staring at her neck. And then he tells her to come work for him. And she says, I can't do anything but sing, which is not true because she can't sing. Then he says, all of that will change, implying vampire time. And then she whines that there isn't any caramel nougat in the box.
Yeah.
We
and Jordy like rolls his eyes. He's getting really good at like the bad snarky guy vibes. I have him like equate him to a really, really bad Freddy Krueger. Like, I love the Freddy Krueger movies simply because he is such a snarky asshole. And he's getting close to that. Jordy is.
Jordy's realized that this was not a good
career
pick,
move.
career move.
Yeah.
And he's sort of done with it. Yeah. Like he's getting better. I don't know if he's getting better, but he's getting more fun to watch, which is one hell of a thing to say about this show.
Yeah.
It's still not a good show, but he's more like, it's just him. We talked about this with something else where it's just like you're trapped in like a bad TV show and you're like watching it go by around you. He's very much getting that vibe.
Yeah.
But then we cut to the old folks' home where an old person is in bed and a vampire dressed as costume store Dracula goes and bites them.
Yeah.
Cut to the next day, Frederick and Gustav. Frederick saying, you're not doing anything about it. Why don't you listen to me? And Gustav says, or Frederick says, I'm not a senile old man. I've got a note about Gustav tone policing, which
sounds about right.
Yep. What if one morning Frederick wakes up, this makes no sense with our reveal later, and can't remember what must be done, i.e., to kill the old folks' home vampire.
Right.
You must do it if I fail.
Yes.
To which Gustav promises.
Yes.
Now, we cut to a carnival.
For the first time in this episode, and we're halfway through, we see the kids.
Sophie and Max. I did not think they were going to be in this episode. And they do an exposition dump.
Yep.
Sophie explains everything that's happened in the episode so far with Gustav and his friend.
Yep. And in the meantime, she's wearing like a suit at nighttime to a fair midway. It was very weird. The 90s was very weird.
There's a reason
to teenage girls.
This show is very unkind.
Fair enough.
Hold on. This show is unkind to girls.
Yeah.
Teenage and otherwise. Okay. So we then cut to the house where Gustav gets a card from, or a call from Frederick that Frederick is going to Lucard's to take care of this vampire problem.
Because he thinks it's Lucard that is sneaking in, because and this was in the exposition dump from Sophie, the hospital or the nursing home that he's in is owned by a Lucard company.
Yeah, something like that.
So he
coming in way too late.
Way too late. It's literally just like, this is an excuse for him to think Lucard is the vampire.
Which also, him in it, is not relevant to anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So then Gustav's like, no, you'll be killed. So then he's going to go save him. We find out because Chris shows up at the carnival saying, I've been looking all over for you guys, with it really bad out of breath acting. Like, I've been looking, just terrible Terrible acting from Chris.
He looks different in this episode too. I don't know if his hair is floofier or I don't know. He looks a lot different in
I
this.
mean, he's got a 27-year-old girlfriend now. He's got to, keep up
Maybe,
appearances.
maybe.
Okay, so he's like, Gustav's going to the castle. We need to go help him or something. Cut back to the castle. Lucard and Amber are having wine, doing a wine tasting. Amber says, ooh, cool. We're going to get a buzz from this, giving Geordie another chance to roll his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
They then talk about the wine a little. And finally, she's like, do you have anything good like apple cider? And that's it. That's too much for Lucard. You can't diss wine around him. He's like the fucking Fraser Crane of vampires. And he's like, okay, this experiment is clearly doomed, though your beauty compels me.
Yeah.
And he's like, now we'll have to do this. I'd hope to do this the hard way, but live and learn, or you're going to have to just.
And here's the thing. It's been established that once turned into a vampire, you gain the ability to learn things so much faster. We learned this with Sophie. So why would you try to mold this boring, stupid human into something sophisticated when you could just very quickly do it when they're a vampire? And I got the poofy hair vibes, like the mom poofy hair vibes. I am down for him just turning beautiful women into vampires and having them have the poofy hair, like the Stevie Nicks, like glamour. Oh, I'm so ready for that. Anyway,
I don't think with the last 3 episodes. No. That's right, because we got a clip episode. Okay, so then she's like, Mr. Lucard, you're acting really weird. And he's like, please call me Dracula.
This is the first time he acknowledges that he is Dracula. I mean, besides, like, I've been around for X number of years and look at my Van Gogh hat.
Episodes in, folks. 16 episodes in. To which Amber says, well, I know exactly who you are because I'm not Amber Santana, Jersey girl. I'm Caroline Elmhurst, sister of David Elmhurst, your assistant who you killed or something, shit.
So who we'd never seen before. This could have very easily, very quickly, very easily been established in a previous episode, but they just, nope.
In comes Gustav, to which Lucard says, does everybody have a key to this castle? Oh, no, it's not Gustav.
It's not Gustav. It's Frederick, yeah.
Does everyone have a key to this castle? Which is a question, because it is either super easy to get into the castle or a little bit hard. It's never impossible to get into the castle.
Yeah.
Even though he's a vampire, even though he's got zombies roaming around who presumably could take care of intruders.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have commented on that before. Like, you just walk into this castle, you pour holy water on the door, and it unlocks it. Like,
right. Well, that was a whole thing. Remember,
he had cursed the door.
So now the cursed door.
Now the cursed door
is not an issue anymore.
I can edit that out.
You're going to be learning how to use voice isolation. Okay. So old man comes in. Lucard throws Amber aside.
Throws her.
He throws the defenseless Jersey girl aside, Jersey girl aside. Then this old man comes up to stake him. Dracula does a new bit of special effects disappearing. He does a little blue. He does the blue thing, but with a little bit more jazz than usual. Then he comes back and he throws the old man aside and makes a crack about getting him a cup of warm milk, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then in comes Gustav, who immediately stops over Caroline and goes, oh, I know you. You're Caroline Elmhurst. Why does he know her?
Yeah.
How? She's a vampire hunter, everybody. She's renowned for her vampire hunting skills. But don't you know you can't go up against Dracula alone?
Yeah.
To which she responds, why are you here? Okay. They then bust out their crosses, which is like a good gag in a single Dracula movie, but when every episode all you ever do is pull out your crosses, It gets a little old.
And I would think that the kids who are not in the scene yet would be like, a crossbow. I keep, it seems like Max would be somebody who's like, how can we modernize this? Like, how can we make this more easy?
What if the reason they took out the crossbow is that after the first few episodes, some kid in Canada watching this made a crossbow and crossbowed their vampire neighbor?
Yeah. It is
Yeah,
Canada. It's very nice.
this is Canada. Yeah, they certainly wouldn't have guns. Okay, actually, if you want to, everyone, if you want to see something interesting about Canada, check out the movie Beans. It's about how the Canadians treat the natives, the indigenous people, and they are garbage. It is incredible. It is just like, oh, you guys are just like, you're just terrible human
Yeah.
beings too.
They are
Cool.
not.
White people, just thumbs down. Big
They were
thumbs down.
not very kind to the First Nations people. No.
Whew. Okay. Frederick then says, put those crosses away. They're bothering me because I'm the old folks' home vampire. I wanted you to kill me, Gustav. Now, here is where we get the other. So, this is a possible riff on Pretty Woman, but here's where we get the real legacy of Dracula the series. So, Frederick starts yelling at Lucard and he says, Dracula! Just like Anthony Hopkins does in Bram Stoker's. 1 year later, which means Anthony Hopkins watched this and was like, that, I'm doing that.
And it wasn't ever something that he stole from like old school Dracula. Because what's his name? Talk like that.
Who?
Old guy. Ed Wood.
Lugosi?
Yeah.
Not this close.
Okay.
Not this close.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I just really am picturing, because this was during Anthony Hopkins' drinking days, I think. So he could just Anthony Hopkins just fucking drunk, like pawing his Oscar, like just fucking watching Dracula the series. I'm sure it was a great time in everyone's life. We establish that Frederick is centuries older than Dracula.
Yeah, which is weird because he's also a vampire hunter.
He's nobody's caught on that he's a vampire hunter, which he apparently has been doing the entire time. Gustav.
He's like Blade. He's Blade.
He's Blade,
but white.
And he aged.
And he aged. Oh yeah.
Blade's mother was bitten while giving birth or while pregnant, like which there's so Blade grows a child and things like that, and so it's very thing. But yes, so so Gustav has never noticed his friend has not gotten any older.
That's weird.
But he has apparently started having dementia, which means vampires get dementia. But the other thing is, it also means vampires don't turn evil. So when Sophie became a vampire, so this guy and we already saw this with Kim Coates' cameo, he hated being a vampire. Sophie wanted to be a fucking killer vampire. These other people managed to do it and either self-loathe or whatever, drink animal blood, right? Like,
yeah. Well, Sophie's a petty teenager.
Okay.
You can get back at your teachers like she did. You can, learn how to play the fucking. She wasn't playing a piano. I can't think of the name of that stupid instrument she was playing, but you learn how to play music really well. Like she was gung-ho because she's intellectually curious and she wants to get back at her enemies. I mean, hey, I'd do it.
Girl power, right? Like,
fuck yeah.
Women's History Month. Okay. So then the kids show up and there's enough confusion that Dracula can get the stake and stake Frederick in the back.
And the kids are kind of mortified that Gustav is letting him do that.
Yeah.
And Gustav has to say, this is what he wants. He wants to die. He does not want to live as a vampire anymore.
And then
which is, I think, like the deepest thing that's ever been in this.
Nope, Kim Coates episode.
Oh, Kim Coates episode, yeah.
Kim Coates episode is technically a really good half hour. Like,
agreed.
Yeah. But yeah, so then as they leave, God, I forgot, we don't even have the weirdness coming yet. Okay. So as they leave, or Dracula, Lucard says something like, "You win, but I survive," which gives Jordy a chance for some flair. Like, he's had a lot of flair during this. Like,
Yeah.
even though he's got a stupid subplot, he's mocking their stupid subplot too, which is
Yeah.
something the show needs. But then we cut to the family playing baseball in the park.
Yes. This was a great scene for me because I enjoyed how Gustav and Sophie were so game to
Yes,
play. Because Sophie, so far, as we discussed recently, has played dumb about baseball, about the Phillies, and I think Max is wearing a Philly shirt, or maybe it's Chris
Chris is.
wearing a Philly shirt, and um, Gustav is up to bat. This was really really funny, and
Now they,
Chris thinks he's tough. Go ahead,
well, I think they're at that park that they played soccer at.
soccer at yeah.
But yes, so Gustav hits a home run.
Oh my god! And all I could think of, and everyone is surprised, and all I could think of was the Buddy Cole sketch where he's coaching the lesbian softball team, and he hits a home run and goes touchdown. And then unlike Gustav, Buddy kind of saunters around the bases, but Gustav, again, it's sort of thinking back about how he's concerned about old age and all this stuff. He runs all of the bases. Sophie gives him high fives, and then there's a special guest at the
Nope,
end.
nope.
Oh,
There's one more thing first.
okay.
First, also Gustav does a jump at the end too.
Yes, yes, he does.
Sophie is the catcher.
Sophie's the catcher, which why would
Hold
you
on,
put
hold on. Max then complains to Chris that Max told Chris, the pitcher, to throw a curveball.
right? I noticed that too.
Okay.
Unless
So
you're like the first base coach, the guy who stands off to the side and tells people what to do, but no, third base coach, I'm sorry. And that's to tell the runner whether to go or not. So but yeah, the catcher is the one who's usually calling the pitches.
I
So
mean,
I have
I,
no
I,
idea.
I was just thinking based on my knowledge from Peanuts, but yes, you might know more. But yeah, so that
Only a very little. I
but
do
that
not
makes no
pretend to
sense.
know.
Though it does mean that Sophie and Chris aren't really talking. I don't think they ever like talked to each other this
No,
entire episode.
no.
So then Sophie's like, "Hey, that was awesome, Gustav." And he's like, "I know. I really got thinking. I better live my life."
Mm-hmm.
To which, I'm sorry, Caroline Elmhurst pulls up, and Max looks over at her and is like,
Yeah, he's practically doing the cartoon wolf thing. Like his eyes are bulging out of his head, his tongue rolls out.
and then Chris or Sophie's like, that's your date? And Gustav's like, "Oh yeah." Chris is upset about it too. He's over there mumbling. And then Sophie gets in a great line about how she's a very Gustav says she's a courageous young woman. Of course I'd want to go out with her. And Sophie's response to that is to mumble, "Yeah, she's courageous to be going out with you."
Yeah, I thought that was really funny.
So then Gustav goes over to this woman who is presumably going to have sex with him just because he saved her life, which apparently
Hey.
would at least explain why Gustav does this job, because we haven't seen him do anything else but make a fool of himself on public television.
There are worse reasons to have sex with somebody.
But then Chris whines that it isn't fair, and we end the episode, and it's like, why isn't it fair, Chris? Like, what?
Because he wants to fuck 30-year-old women. That's why it's not fair.
His girlfriend will be 30 in 3 years. It'll be fine. Like, it's such a, but it's just like a ending. You're just like, oh.
Why can't Chris see it as aspirational? Like, hopefully, when I'm 65 years old, I can save somebody's life, and so they feel obligated to have sex with me. Yeah.
And she'll pick me up and probably buy me dinner too. Like,
yeah, because I'm a feeble old man.
Also, why aren't they trying to kill Dracula still? Why is her response to her great mission of impersonating Amber Santana, bad Jersey Girl singer, she's not suffering any trauma from that. Instead, she's just like, well, gotta fuck the old man now. Like, what is this show?
I
Like,
have no idea.
it is made for 65-year-old men to watch with their grandchildren.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty fair. And the reason Dracula didn't die is because we need to have episode 17 called The Decline of the Romanian Vampire, where Mr. Perfect comes back. Finally. Finally, we've got Geraint Wyn Davies coming back.
Oh,
That's why Dracula can't die, because the season's not over yet, bitch. Oh,
I will say I don't want Max to die as much as I used to.
right.
I would be totally okay if just Chris and Gustav died. Sophie and Max can live.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Or like maybe they turn Gustav into a vampire and they have to keep him in that place like he had his brother, but Max just annoys him all the time. Like for eternity, Max
His
is just
son.
annoying him.
It's his son. Yeah.
But but not him. We don't need to. Mr. Perfect doesn't need to be in my dream conclusion
Okay.
to the show, which in just a few short years, I'll be able to make an AI art, AI animation. We'll just be able to make a better finish for Dracula the series.
A better series for Dracula. All the same characters, and the same stories. They just end differently.
I wonder.
Time.
I don't know if if we could. How would you get the scripts? Would be the next thing. But you could feed it all to Chat GPT and be like, "Can you make this better?"
Yeah, yeah.
Would you make this better, Chat GPT?
Yeah.
And it would be like it would be less creepy about teenagers and 30-year-olds who want to turn them into vampires, groom them,
fuck them. Yeah.
Gross. Vincent also hasn't been back, so he's also running around out there. The Vincent with the rare blood disorder who makes super vampires or whatever.
So it's interesting that at earlier on, speaking of Geraint Wyn Davies, it seemed like the only vampires in town were Dracula's victims,
yes,
Dracula's associates, but Vincent seemingly came from somewhere else.
Well, also Dracula Lucard never took care of Vincent.
No,
because we don't get any scene. We didn't get a scene where Sophie explained what was going on with her becoming a vampire.
Yeah,
he just showed up at Dracula's and we cut to the next episode that repeated the episode with the overambitious woman.
Yeah.
Getting her due.
And that woman from the first episode, the art lady who was grooming Sophie, she was a vampire and she was just running around too. I find it interesting that there are all these vampires. One, not like there's a vampire council like in Shadows. Yeah, but like there are all these vampires running around that other vampires don't know. I feel like maybe this is racist, but I feel like they should all know each other. All the vampires should know each other.
You would think Lucard would.
You would think so, because he seems to be like the grand poobah of vampires.
That was my other thing about this is, why does he have time to do this?
Yeah.
Like, for a while on this show, he had terrible business subplots.
Yeah.
Like, they were shitty, but at least they made, like, some sense within the context of the character.
Yeah.
This is like some season 3 subplot on a sitcom where Vampire Fraser Crane is going to try to, turn somebody into a sidekick or something. Like, it's not even a Frasier, it's a Cheers. Like, this is a Cheers where Frasier tries to teach Woody about wine. Like, cool. So we've got another episode with. I wonder if the kids will find out his connection to Gustav next episode, since Gustav is still lying to the kids.
Yeah, I don't
about
know.
having a vampire son. Even though Lucard knows that he does.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I can't wait to find out.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you all for tuning in. And Andrew, see you in Television Land.
See you in Television Land, Emily.
Have a good one.